Hey guys, this is the Mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today as I take a deeper look at episodes 1 to 2 of SWV and Scape, the Queens of R&B. I will be reviewing episode 3 tomorrow or Friday when I have more time, but I'm not going to be doing a full episode recap. There are plenty of other content creators who do a great job covering the show. Instead, I'm going to focus on specific segments of the episodes that I believe could be used as teachable moments for myself and the audience. So I've stepped away from my channel over the past several weeks because I needed to recoup my energy. The month of February was very, very hard for me. I was having migraines every single day, and I was like beyond exhausted with overwork, not with the channel per se, but other personal projects that I'm working on and my other work. So my sister saw me for the first time in like months, and she was like, oh no, you got to take a break. So I stepped back, got some much needed rest, and I did not work as much, even though I still had a lot of work to do. So initially I wasn't going to review this show because honestly I'm tired of seeing black women on TV of all ages arguing over petty nonsense. But I received at least like 15 DMs requesting that I watch the show. So I watched the first 2 episodes, and I'm glad I did because there is a lot to unpack when it comes to Tasha and Tamika's relationship. So within the first 20 minutes of episode 1, I wrote down, it's easy to be triggered by somebody you don't like and you don't trust. And I was talking about Tasha and Tamika. And it's also easy to be triggered when you're insecure, right? So admittedly, I don't know much about the personal issues between the Scape members. I listened to their music when I was growing up, and I watched the verses they did like 2 years ago. I've heard like rumblings and mumblings about the drama, but I never paid much attention to them to that extent. And the same goes for SWV. I remember they had a reality show like a decade ago, but they couldn't get it together because of the drama with Coco. So I'm happy at this point that they've matured, but I did give Taj like the side eye when she was like, they got over that arguing phase of their relationship in their 20s. And I was like, weren't you guys butting heads on like SWV Reunited in 2014? So anyway, regardless of that, I do appreciate the wise counsel that SWV tried to give to Scape, okay, because they went through the same issue. But from what I've seen in these 2 episodes, it looks like Tasha wants to have an attitude to justify stabbing her group in the back by pursuing a solo career, okay? Let me go back to episode 1. So Tamika accuses Tasha and her husband of stealing $30,000 from her. And she brought this up in the conversation, during a confrontation with their mother, right? They had some sort of intervention because Tamika and Tasha had some text messages that went back and forth. Tasha was offended by something Tamika said about her booty, and they didn't speak for about a month. Tamika and Tasha's mother is extremely toxic, and she triangulates with Tamika and Tasha. The first thing I noticed is that when Tamika arrived at the house, Tasha acted like she was being the bigger person by offering her sister a hug, and she did this in front of her mother, right? But when the ladies met at the lunch with SWV, she was stank and standoffish. She acts a different way in front of her mother than she does when she's with her sister and the other women. The mother also mouthed that Tamika was jealous of her older sister because Tamika was talking about why they had an issue, and then behind Tamika's back she mouths to her daughter, who's her sister, she's jealous. And I'm like, why would you say that? Why would Tamika be jealous of her? Tamika's just as pretty as Tasha. Tamika has a beautiful body, she has a husband, she has everything that Tasha has without the chip on her shoulder. Why would she be jealous, right? And to be honest, I thought that this is some Willie Lynch BS. A lot of black parents use Willie Lynch on their own children to make sure they stayed in control of their children, okay? So Willie Lynch was a system of like psychological warfare that was used by slave masters to make sure that the black family stayed divided and dysfunctional so that they could never rebel against their master. And in this instance, Tamika and Tasha's mother would be the puppet master. I'm always leery of people who interject God in regular conversation, because that's a form of psychological control and emotional manipulation. It's also a way for the toxic person to assume some sort of righteous authority over their relationship partners or their children or their co-workers or their friends, to guilt them into blind obedience regardless of how abusive the relationship is. This is what religion is used for, and God is used for in our community. So during episode 1, Tamika accused Tasha of stealing her money, and she was angry for her mother for not coming to her defense. Right? Tasha said, "You never defend me. You never stick up for me, no matter what she does." And instead of hearing her out, her mother shouted her down, tried to silence her, and then kicked the cameras out of the house so that she could continue to pretend that she was this great mother, since she raised 2 successful daughters. Tamika and Tasha are successful in spite of their mother. Now, I remember earlier in the episode, they said that their father left, right? Tamika and Tasha's father left the mom. They were married, but then he left her. I wonder if she developed this complex when it comes to controlling the children because of her abandonment issues. That's what it seems like to me. People usually manipulate their friends and family like this because they have abandonment problems. People like this are afraid when you have a mind of your own, because then they can't control you, and then you'll be able to call out their toxic behavior and move forward accordingly, as opposed to being guilted into staying with someone who's abusive and toxic towards you, right? So their mother, I don't know if she developed this issue after the father left, but I wouldn't be surprised if she did. She became controlling and manipulative of her daughters because she did not want them to abandon her the way that her husband did. I'm not a psychologist or a therapist, but I wouldn't be surprised if she's doing it for that reason, because the objective is always control. This is about control. If I keep the 2 sisters divided from each other, they can't turn against me. I'm not saying they're going to do that regardless, but because of her fear of being abandoned and because of her fear of not having control, she's going to sow seeds of distrust and toxicity and animosity between the 2 sisters. And that's not a natural relationship between siblings. It's not. That's cultivated by the mother, the father, or both parents. Okay? And in this case, it would be Tasha and Tamika's mother who's fostered this toxic, competitive dynamic between the 2 sisters. Because Tasha said that she used to, look up to Tamika. The other way around. Tamika says she used to look up to Tasha, right? She would do whatever Tasha said, and Candy and Tiny, as the objective third parties, they agreed with that Tamika was always kissing up to her sister and did whatever her sister wanted, so that when Tasha had a problem with Candy, she probably, and I'm just speculating here, she probably put the battery in Tamika's back to call the radio station and say that the reason why Candy got her solo career was because she slept with Jermaine Dupri. I don't think Tamika actually believed that. I think that was actually Tasha's words, and that was what Tasha believed. And so because Tamika was loyal to her sister, she probably was like, yeah, let me, have my sister's back, and I'm going to put out this nasty rumor about Candy, right? Whether it's true or not, I don't know, and I don't care. But it wasn't in her place to say that without evidence, period. And this, again, is the jealousy that I'm seeing with Tasha. Tasha projects her jealousy onto other people. She seems to be somebody who's really insecure because of a weight problem. So now she's walking around as if somebody did something to her, right? So now the other group members in Escape, they're trying to figure out how to fix the problem that Tasha created in her mind. So yeah, that's also a form of manipulation. Tasha accused her sister of stealing money from her, and the mother basically shamed her daughter into silence, right? Now, I believe Tamika, because if somebody accused me of stealing money, especially $30,000, and on camera, I would have demanded receipts. I would have said, you're not leaving, right, camera crew? You're not leaving this house until I get receipts. I want to see everything that you have, because this is not true. Isn't cashing somebody's checks considered wire fraud or bank fraud? And $30,000, that will be a felony, right? I'm assuming. So if somebody's accused me of something that serious, I would have demanded receipts. And it seems like neither Tasha nor her husband wanted proof of the accusation. They just wanted to pretend like they were taking the high road, right? As if they're righteous Christian folk. The truth is going to speak for itself. No. There's a paper trail. I want the receipts. So I know they did it. Well, I shouldn't say I know. I'm confident that they did it, because Tasha seems to be somebody who gets aggravated or triggered by the slightest little thing. right? She looks for any excuse to be offended. She seems like that kind of person, looking for any excuse to have an attitude or be offended. If someone accused you of stealing $30,000, that's a lot to be offended by. But it seems like she didn't want to bother. It wasn't a big deal. That's not a big deal. But you having a small booty is enough to not talk to your sister for a whole month. Having a small ass is more significant and painful to you than somebody accusing you of felonious theft and wire fraud. Really? I think her husband did it. I don't think she did it. But because she's going to ride for her husband, right, like a lot of women do, especially black women in the South who were Christianized and brainwashed into putting their husbands on a pedestal, right? See? She's going to cover for him the same way Tamika covered for her when she was kissing up to her years ago. And the same way Tasha's mother, both their mothers, cover for Tasha. So this is like one hand washes the other, and all of them against Tamika, her husband, Tasha, and the mom. Okay, I'm not saying that Tamika's mother hates her or despises her, but there's definitely some manipulation here. This is psychological abuse and gaslighting and triangulation. The mom is responsible for this. The mom is responsible for this, and the sisters are going at it with each other. And then the mom acts like she wants to be their peacemaker, but she's the reason why they're having problems in the first place. And you know that she's a source of the problems because every time they all come together, things get worse. Nothing ever gets resolved. The only way that things can get resolved is if Tamika acquiesces, she silences herself, she mutes herself, and she does whatever her mother and Tasha wants her to do. Only then will the cosmic order be restored. Okay? And I'm going to be quite honest. If Tasha and Tamika want to get cool, they have to ixnay their mother out of their relationship. They have to cancel their mother out of their relationship. And I think that's what Tasha's mother is afraid of the most. She's afraid of them coming together and saying, yo, when we're together, we have a good time, right? Who or what is the common denominator in all of our problems? It's mommy. So we have to give mommy an ultimatum. Okay, either we go to family counseling or family therapy, you go to individual therapy, whatever the case may be. But if you don't get any help to deal with your emotional issues, we're not going to spend as much time with you. But I don't think Tasha will let that happen because Tasha likes this dynamic. And that is how their mother stays in control. Because the slave that's in the big house getting the preferential treatment doesn't want the system to change. They're benefiting from it. Why would I want to go against Master? I'm getting everything I want. Emotional validation. I'm put on a pedestal. I can do no wrong, right? I'm the favorite daughter. Why would I want to punish my mother for being the favorite daughter? This is your problem. You got to deal with this by yourself. And so their mother has secured a place in their lives as this toxic third party that's keeping them at each other's necks. That is her job. That's what she wants to do. Because if they ever came together and said, we have a common enemy here, which is our mother, the mother will not be able to manipulate or control him anymore. It's as simple as that. And Tasha does not have a vested interest in doing that. She has to want to be cool with her sister more than she does with her mother. And to be fair, that's a hard bargain to negotiate because mommies always come before siblings. Parents usually come before siblings, okay? So we're more attached to our parents a lot of times than our siblings. And again, their mother has secured a position in her life by creating this triangulated dynamic where Tamika's always wrong and Tasha's always right. So now Tasha won't want to fix the problem because fixing the problem means that she won't have access to the woman who puts her on a pedestal, even when she does the wrong thing. Now I don't have to be held accountable for my actions because Tamika's always wrong. And I'm going to keep the person in my life that is maintaining this dynamic, that's making it okay for me to be as I am, right? I don't need to change. There's nothing wrong with me. So I'm going to side with the person who agrees with that. Why would I change? My mom doesn't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. Tamika's the only one with the problem. So she needs to fix it, right? Tasha's benefiting from this. Why would she buck the system and say, mommy, you are not being fair? Because then her mother would turn on her too. Trust and believe. Tasha knows that if she ever checked her mother would turn on her, just like Scrappy's mother did him in a hot second. After everything I did for you, you're going to do me like this? Trust me, Tasha's afraid of checking her mother and saying you're wrong for doing this. So this toxic dynamic is benefiting Tasha and her mother, but not Tamika. Okay. Also, if Tasha were to check her mother, she would then turn to Tamika for emotional support. The mother would turn to Tamika for emotional support and turn Tamika against Tasha, using previous slights or grudges or the animosity between them to create another wedge. So now Tasha's not being obedient, right? Now Tamika's my good daughter. I'm going to use Tamika against her sister to bring her back under the fold, to put her back in her place, because I'm still the mother here. I'm still God here, okay? I'm never wrong. Okay. And if Tamika decides to start speaking with Tasha and her mother, guess what they'll do? Tasha and her mother, they will talk about her bad behind her back, and that will be their way of bonding. You see, she's so ungrateful. I did all this for her. You wouldn't do that to me. That's what the mother will be putting into Tasha's head. She abandoned us. She betrayed us. She's whatever. That's how it will play out. Okay. So this is not up for Tamika to fix. She can't fix this. The only thing she can do is work on herself and establish healthy boundaries and stop feeling guilty for telling the truth. That's all she can do for herself. As far as her mother and Tasha, they're benefiting from this dynamic in an emotional and psychological way. All right. So anyway, during episode 2, I forgot which scene, but Tasha said that Tamika or Candy, which one? I don't know. I got distracted. She said that she resents her for being the lead singer. Tasha wants people to resent her and be jealous of her and attack her to justify doing them dirty for no reason. Okay. Tasha and her mother gaslight Tamika, and they shame her for expressing her true feelings that are justified. Now, when Tasha went to this meeting with the people talking about her solo career, she said she wanted to go solo to speak her truth because, we don't get to hear women's perspectives when they're writing songs, right? But at the same time, she's silencing Tasha's truth and acting like she's not justified for feeling the way she feels. I honestly think that Tasha is insecure because of her previous weight issues, and she's triggered because of that, right? I don't think that Tasha truly likes Tamika unless she's kissing her ass, just like Tamika said her mother only likes her when she kisses up to Tasha. And I honestly think that could be the case because Tasha was the lead singer of the group per se, and so she was the one who gave her mother the best source of narcissistic supply. My daughter's the lead singer in Scape, right? Tamika can sing too, but my daughter Tasha validates me as a good mother, even though I probably wasn't. But to the world, they see my successful daughter and they'll say, oh, that's her mother. She did a good job raising her, right? So now she's getting vicarious praise and vicarious success through her daughter. And Tamika can't give her that same level of attention or validation because she's not the lead singer of the group. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with the dynamics between the Escape members, but I know Tiny was singing, a lot. I know Tasha sang a lot. Candy was too in this stint, but Tamika, I think they all can sing, but I think Tasha was the lead singer. She said she was, so she's acting like the diva, and again, that's probably why her mother caters to her. Tamika said that this was a dynamic they had since they were younger, but I think it got worse as they got older and Tasha became the lead singer for Escape. I think she's a lead or one of the leads, whatever, because she did mention that, there was some jealousy about that. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I wouldn't be surprised. Okay. So yeah, just to go back on my notes, her mother is very toxic and manipulative. Their mother is toxic and manipulative, and she's created dissension between the two sisters so that she can stay in control of Tasha. Now, during their conversation in the room, Tasha referred to their mother as her mother. She said, my mother. And I'm glad Tamika called her out on that. I'm glad she did. And Tasha got defensive, but she knows she was wrong for that. That was a Freudian slip because that's the way she feels. Okay. So their mother has created this triangulation dynamic, but to avoid being called out for her BS, she'll invoke God and Bible scripture, right? She told her daughter Tamika that she doesn't have enough God in her to see what she did wrong. Now, what is enough God? Who's determining this? This is how religion has been and continues to be weaponized against black people, against slaves, to keep us docile and afraid. And this is why a lot of old black religious people, especially women, because they're usually the ones raising the kids, these are how these people psychologically, intellectually, and emotionally cripple their children into subservience, ignorant fear, and high-mindedness. And this is why the black community keeps making the same mistakes generation after generation, because we're programmed to be complacent with dysfunction and chaos. And this affects us not only in our relationships, but also economically and politically, right? I mentioned this a few weeks ago. The reason why Tisha called Melody the devil was because Melody was like, I'm not going to pretend like nothing happened. I'm not going to allow you to disrespect me and then act like you're still my friend. That's not going to happen, right? Especially considering what she was going through at the time. Okay, so Melody said, no, I don't have to put up with the abuse. And that's why she's an enemy to the cast members now, because we're conditioned, especially as women, to put up with abuse from friends, family members, co-workers, lovers, etc. And just like Lily said, we'll forgive our man faster than we will forgive our friend or our sister, right? We'll forgive our man for cheating and having a baby with somebody else and abusing us faster than we'll forgive our sister for saying your booty looks small in the text messages. Tamika didn't say that verbatim, but Tasha felt like that's what she was implying, okay? So anyway, yeah, this is why we keep doing the same things over and over and over again. So Tisha has an issue with Melody for sticking up for herself during her marriage and not allowing her social cultural conditioning to keep her in an abusive relationship, which is what many women like Tasha's mother expect their children, their friends, and their relationship partners to do. And as soon as you say this is wrong, as soon as you check them and say, I'm a human being, you're not being fair, now you don't have God in you. Now you're the devil, right? Listen to the language. So when Tasha's mother says that you don't have enough God in you, she's putting herself in a position of absolute authority, because apparently she knows God enough to determine that her daughter does not have enough of God in her, which means that the mommy does by default. I'm God's right-hand woman, right-hand man. So I'll tell you whether or not you are holy enough. If you make me upset, you're not holy. If you make me upset, you're not of God. That's basically what it is. If you don't do what I say, you're not obeying God. This is narcissism, period. I didn't say she has NPD, but this is narcissistic behavior. A lot of religious people do this, okay? Tasha knows she wants to leave the group. So she's walking around with a stink attitude, like somebody did something to her. And this is reverse psychology to make her group members feel guilty about her stabbing them in the back. And Tasha reminds me, and I said this earlier, of the people who have an attitude or they act disinterested because they want everyone clamoring for their attention, trying to fix whatever non-existent problem that they have. This is attention-seeking, passive-aggressive, manipulative behavior. And she's doing this because she knows she's wrong for going behind their back to go solo, knowing that they have plans to go on tour with SWV. And she's going to justify doing this by saying that Candy did it a long time ago. She had a solo career. She did it behind my back, right? So I'm okay. I'm justified in doing this. This is petty, tit-for-tat behavior. On a final note, when Tasha sang at the office meeting, she sounded like she was underwater. I'm not saying she can't sing, but no. I'll leave it at that. All right, guys, I'm gonna leave it there. I look forward to your feedback. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will speak to you soon.